I'm on the homepage here of the state legislature, and there's a couple of different ways that you can find what you're looking for. So let's first look at the top bar. You can see that there's the Senate and the Assembly, and here, if you want to search by representative, it's pretty simple. You can click on the list of all 99 of us. You can go to the person of your choice. This is ouch, it's a rough blue book photo, but you can see here, if you just look at the top of the page, this is me, and a dumb smirk on my face that my wife makes fun of all the time. And you can see here my telephone number, my email, and then look at these two little pieces here. You can click on my legislative website, which has all the different ways that you can follow along, like getting our monthly e-updates, press releases, some of the different publications that I've produced and published on criminal justice and on Milwaukee, etc. If you go to this other option, the details link here, you can see more information about my contact information, my staff, and then on the right-hand side here, you can see different pieces of legislation that I've authored this legislative session. You can actually see the date in which they were introduced. So I'm going to go back and I want to show you a bill. So let's take a closer look at 2019 Assembly Bill 33, and this is about the expungement of criminal records. So you can see that the website actually links to the bill, and now this screen with the bill and a bunch more links has a ton of really useful information. So we're looking up Assembly Bill 33. First, let me point out down here, it says see also Senate Bill 39. When the Assembly and Senate introduce bills, they need to pass each house the exact same, word for word, but they don't have the exact same numbers. And so if you're calling your senator about expungement, you would reference Senate Bill 39, and if you were calling me, it would be Assembly Bill 33. And that's just something that you kind of have to get used to, but it can be kind of confusing. So you can see here, if you see in the history, the first date, February 22nd, 2019, this bill was introduced by Representative David Steffen from the Green Bay area, from me, and then we listed all of these people that signed on to co-sponsor the bill. It was more than half of each of the Assembly and the Senate. And then you can see, as it went forward, it was referred to the Committee on Criminal Justice and Public Safety. You can see a couple more members of the legislature added their name. This is important right here. Public hearing held, amendments offered, and then you can see if we keep going further down, it was actually voted on, and so it says read for a third time and passed. And then this one's the really sad at the end here. On April 1st, 2020, it said failed to concur in the Senate, which means the bill passed the Assembly, but the Senate refused to take it up and vote on it. And so you can see each of these very different steps along the way. Now, if we go back up to the top, there's some more information here that you can get via this website. So first and foremost, what does the bill do? What does it say? Well, here's the text of the bill. This first part is in English, which is called the Legislative Reference Bureau Analysis. So you can see that right there. And then the second part of this document is actually the statutory language, the actual changes where in state law does this bill make changes. There's sometimes what's called legislative council memos. So these are the memos written by lawyers that help guide the legislature, and this is written about a bunch of background about expungement, and it details kind of what does the bill do and what do changes in the bill, what would they mean in the real world. Fiscal estimates, these are the different state agencies that have written in to say what the potential cost of the change would be. And then this bill hearing materials is a really interesting one. It shows the actual materials that were submitted when we had a public hearing. So here's the testimony of Representative David Steffen. There's me, my testimony from the hearing on March 11th. You can see, if we keep going down, Senator Darling's testimony, Waukesha County judge came to testify. Individuals that have written in they came to testify, or they wrote in. A lot of these are letters from people that are directly affected. So this is the ACLU's letter in support, Americans for Prosperity. So there's a lot of information here that gets cataloged and is publicly available. And then the last thing that I want to point out, and this is really something that's really great about the transparency of Wisconsin's process. You see Wisconsin Ethics Commission information. If I click on this link, it will show me which organizations that have lobbyists or required to register as lobbying entities in Wisconsin, who supports it or who is opposed to it. And so here you can see a very unique 1-2 punch here, the American Civil Liberties Union, so the ACLU, and then number 2 is the Americans for Prosperity. Trust me, these two groups are not always in favor of the same piece of legislation, but here they are, and you can go down where the Association of State Prosecutors, they weren't an arrow for yes, they weren't an arrow for no, and they registered as other, meaning they had some unanswered questions. But you can see here a ton of different groups have registered in support of this legislation. And if I go here next to it, you can actually see what time these groups spent engaging in direct lobbying on this issue. So, look here. The ACLU says that between January and June, they spent 5 hours of lobbying directly on this bill. And then what's really nice is if you kind of want to follow up, or if you have questions, this website also links to their profile. So here are all the bills that the ACLU lobbied on, some for, some against, who their authorized lobbyists are. And so even better, you can go in and say, oh, I know Molly Collins. I've met her before. And here you can have her picture, which is better than my picture, on the website. And it even has publicly her contact information, email, etc. And so this process is incredibly helpful for and transparent and open and free for all of you to follow legislation along. And so what's going to happen, we've been putting out a lot of information about different ideas on criminal justice reform, different ways to address the tragic disparities that this country sees in its criminal justice system. And this is a way to kind of follow along. Does your representative or senator, have they signed on to that legislation? Did they vote for it? And you can track it all through this website. It also has an incredibly handy way to look up what the state law is. So if you look through the state statutes, we'd have to scroll all the way down to the bottom here. We can, we can actually look at the expungement law that I know by heart now. And here you can see what the current law actually says about expungement. And then together with what I showed you, you can piece together what the changes are that we wanted to make. So this is a wealth of information, and it has a lot that people I encourage to take advantage of, to access, to stay informed, to stay knowledgeable. And I just wanted to show how you look up legislation. If you have a number of the bill, you can go right in here and just type in AB 33 like we were looking at. And here you can see we get to that same screen. So you can do it by representative, the author. You can do it by number. You can go back in several sessions and find bills that were introduced from sessions before. So this is really helpful. This is a great place to start your research and your as you look to see how to engage on your efforts to see how public policy becomes law, who's introducing what ideas, who's supporting different ideas, and it's all just here for free at our fingertips, and we're really lucky to have this comprehensive website. So I hope this was helpful as we follow and advocate and push for change in this state. This is a great place for you to start, and I hope that you share it with your networks, and that this very short tutorial on how to explore some of these features can help you in accessing your state government. So thank you for tuning in, and stay tuned for more Nerd Power videos.